the Bahamas. West Grand Bahama and Bimini is getting more attention now than ever before. We're getting things that we wanted. We're getting things that make a difference. And we're changing how this part of Grand Bahama is seen, because I will fight until such time as we transform these areas, that we put our new schools up, that we cause more economic activity, and we cause more governance to be in these areas. And that is what this facility will be, a place for greater governance and greater service.
This new administrative complex will create new employment opportunities and much needed economic activity for the residents of West Grand Bahama. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last 4.5 years, my ministry, in conjunction with the Ministry of Works and Urban Development, have developed a progressive infrastructure agenda on the island of Grand Bahama. The ongoing construction of the fire station, the 6-point seawall, the junior high school in West Grand Bahama, as well as the renovation of all healthcare facilities on Grand Bahama, the farmers market, the post office in Freeport, and yes, the fishing roll are testament of the fact that this administration is committed to economic development and social advancement and improvement in the quality of life for all Grand Bahamians.
Well, each time I return to Grand Bahama, I just see the growing evidence that testifies the resilience of the Grand Bahamian people.
Someone once said, if you wanted to go somewhere fast, you go alone. And if you wanted to go far, then you go together. And I believe that what you see here today is a combination of us doing it together.
No matter what they say about us, this is the party. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Know that the people of the Bahamas, watching all of this, watching what's happening in politics, the meltdown of opposition parties, the instability that is being institutionalized, the hatred politically that is being manifested, should watch the Progressive Liberal Party to once again conclude that you don't roll the dice with governance, but you make conscious, considered decisions on how best to protect future generations of Bahamians.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. It's always a pleasure to spend my Sunday evenings with you. This is the greatest part of the week for me. This is when we get to learn together, we get to be together and do what we have to do. No, we're not in studio today. I don't know why. I keep having to travel in order to do these videos. I don't know why, or maybe it's just a coincidence. But no, I'm not. I'm not in studio. I am away, and we're gonna have another interesting one today. Uh, we got the documents, ladies and gentlemen. We got more than one document. We got quite a bit of documents, and that's so we could figure out what's going on in this country and what's happening. We got the contract, the actual contract. And there's some things in the contract to me that is diabolical. The contract that Eric Player Gardiner had. We're going to break that contract down for you, and you're going to see exactly what he's getting from that Jesus. You thought Sabas was making money from contracts. The drug dealer is making even more money from contracts. That one contract, you're not going to believe how much money he grossed from that one contract. Sabas, eat your heart out. You're in on that level. All right. And so we're gonna tell you how the drug dealer, we're gonna go through that contract so you can see exactly what's going on in your country and how the government, in my opinion, became drug dealers. how the government became money launderers based on this and other contracts is out there. And so we also have another contract with Jobeth Coleby Davis name on it, another document, and it's interesting how it ties into Eric Blair Gardiner. And so we are going to show you that document. So someone tag Jobeth Coleby Davis, so y'all can see what's really going on in this country. So we got a lot to do today, but we're gonna get started today, and it's gonna be about you. We're gonna open the phone lines for you to talk, for you to deal with your issues, whatever's going on with you, and that's what our show is going to be moving forward. This is going to be a platform where Bahamians can voice their opinion and voice what's going on with them. The Coalition of Independence is going to continue. Listen, from I put that little thing out there, I don't know why I have to say this every week. For those people who calling me and whispering in the phone and threatening and doing that kind of stuff from these unknown numbers, come on, man. What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? Do you not know that we could track you whenever we want to? I mean, whispering in the phone to me. Listen, I know there's certain types of people who's attracted to the PLP, right? But I ain't one of them. Just so y'all men who whispering in the phone to me, trying to whisper sweet nothings in my ear with these what you could do to me, I don't like man. I'm not a PLP. Don't mix me up. If someone is going to kill you, they could just kill you. They're not going to call you and tell you they could kill you. If someone is threatening you, they're jokers. So I'm going to say this to all of you. You are a bunch of jokers. Y'all know how to find me. I'm not hiding. I'm not wearing a bulletproof vest. If you are serious, you know where to find me. So y'all stop all this calling and whispering sweet nothings in my ear about what y'all gonna do to me, and y'all gonna kill me, and y'all gonna put something on me, and y'all gonna lock me up, and y'all gonna find some way to destroy me. And listen, I have serious things in this country to deal with. Destroying me changes nothing. All right? The issues are still there, and the people are still going to stand up and fight. And if it's not me today, it's going to be some other young person that rises up tomorrow. What I am is an idea that cannot be killed. I am the idea that Bahamians should be put first in this country. I am the idea that Bahamians should benefit from this country. I am the idea that we should have a country that just works and end the corruption in this country. You cannot kill that. It did not die with Pinlin. It did not die with Mallow Butler. It did not die with Sir Randall Fox. The idea lives on. And so don't think that by scandalizing me or by threatening to kill me or trying to kill me, that's going to change anything. Being obedient to a greater power while you are being obedient to some evil, dark politicians. I am going to keep talking. I'm going to keep investigating. I'm going to keep revealing. And you could decide whatever you want to do. The Apostle Paul wrote the majority of the Bible from in a prison. If I gotta continue revealing what's going on from in prison, I will do that. I will go live every week from my jail cell. Bahamians are going to own and run this country. Bahamians are going to be lifted up in this country, and Bahamians are going to rise. And there's nothing you can say to me, nothing you can do to me, nothing you can accuse me of that's going to change that. So that was just a message to those fellas who want to call, man, and whisper in your talk with your real voice, man. Get some bass in your voice. What are you whispering for? Get some bass in your voice. What are you changing your voice for? Be a man. When I speak, I speak. I don't hide behind nothing. When I speak to these wicked politicians and these corrupt people, I speak. I put my face there, I put my voice there, I put my name there. Hiding behind anonymous posts on Facebook, hiding behind whispering on Facebook, trying to change your voice. Cowards. Anyway, y'all, it's time to get to work. And y'all, listen, again, to those PLPs, trolls who are calling me or whatever you are, hitman, I don't know what y'all are. Because y'all are the gayest hitmen in world history. Calling me whispering in my ears. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to give you an update with what's happening on the farmland where we are in Carmichael Road. You would have seen that I did a live recently. After that live, I was called back out there, and the Ministry of Lands and Survey was out there, and they are saying that they are going to regularize the persons who have gone out there and possessed their land. That is the instruction that they had given. Now, I'll be honest with you, Philip Brave Davis had told me that he wanted to do something like this before the election. He had told me that, but I couldn't take any favors from the PLP or make it seem to be going in that direction. And then I just don't trust politicians. But it seems like Brave Davis is moving in that direction. They've Lands and Survey has come there and spoken to persons in the area who has possessed their land, and they have told them information about others, and we're sending them a list of other persons. And they said they're going to regularize them like they regularized the Haitians and Bahamians in the Fox Hill area and in the area of Fire Trail Road. They're going to regularize these Bahamians. So if the government goes forward with that, that is a fabulous thing, and that's going to be a feather in Philip Brave Davis's cap. We'll see what happens. The person who was coming in the back there and harassing, his name is Winky or Livingston, and Winky has been coming in the back there because he has a serious issue. It's not like the other people. To explain to you how they were issuing land to to persons when the other persons already own the land, and that's the confusion that the government is doing. And they got to get that right. I'm not saying this to criticize you, but you got to get that right. Even Bishop Henschel and the Great Commission was given the land when they went there to start moving forward. The land turned out to be owned by someone else. The person came there and said, "Y'all get off my land." Why would the government issue land for good purpose? That is a good purpose when they know that someone else is on it. They have all the documents. They have access to everything. They know someone else is on there, but they want to make it seem like, oh, see, we tried. We issued the land. Love us. And then when you go there, someone else said, oh, these Bahamians, no, they don't have no right to be there, and they want to fight you. But see, we do what we did. So you all just got to deal with that. And they did that to the Great Commission. I saw it in the news. I haven't spoken to Bishop Elgin about it. I just saw it in the news. And they're also doing it to persons now on the farmland where they know that persons are in possession of the land. They're issuing the person. So like Winky came there, know that persons were in possession of that land. Persons had buildings on that land, and persons had crops. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of crops, expensive crops on the land. And Winky just came there, said he's PLP, and the PLP taking this whole thing and just ran over there because he feels like, well, they in power. And Winky, though, is aggressive because he has a problem. We have been told, that, see someone already calling me. We've been Winky at in a shopping and the shopping plaza. He got investors to go along with him to build the shopping plaza, and it appears like he told these investors that the land was straight. And so one of the investors came there when Winky was trying to talk to one of the persons who had possessed a part of the land, been living there for ages, longer than the period where you would have to be living there to acquire the land by adverse possession. And it didn't go well for Winky. And another person, I think in a white van, they said, came in and said, "Well, Winky, I thought you told me you get this straight. you don't take my money and something like that to that extent. I don't know the exact words, so I won't repeat it, but it seemed like an investor who had invested for the shopping center with them, and that's why they're being so aggressive. That's why they don't want to go to court, because court will take time. So they're trying to use police officers that they know or are close with to just do their bidding, to try to take that over, and that's why you're seeing all this skullduggery. He should have known we would have investigated and we would have gotten to the bottom of this. All right. Now, Winky, don't try to disenfranchise these people. If you're a general of the PLP, tell them to put you on a land that's not disputed. All right. Just start there. If they love you, tell them to put you on land that's not disputed. Because if you come at that old woman again who had a stroke because you stressed her out so bad, she had a stroke because of how you attacked her and dealt with her. Y'all ain't gonna stop till people start coming at y'all house. Y'all ain't gonna stop. Y'all ain't gonna stop till people start coming at y'all business. Y'all ain't gonna stop. See, because Bahamians are so passive is why y'all do the things y'all do, but Bahamians ain't gonna be passive forever. And I think Bahamians have reached that boiling point. Stop. That's all I can say. Stop. People have children, people have family members, and when they see what you're doing to a respected elderly lady in their family, it could lead to anything. Stop. I done had to beg for your life to save it. Stop. Do it the right way. Go to court, let them decide, and then you're straight. Simple. Why is it a problem when you're asking people to do things the right way? All right, so that's all I have to say about that. To the tractor drivers that he keep hiring, and he keeps having to hire different ones because the tractor drivers, when they realize what's going on, they don't want to get involved. So he keep having to go to new tractor drivers. Don't let Winky put you all in danger. All right, so moving on from there, I reached out to the chairman of the FNM. I also reached out to the leader of the FNM. He didn't take the calls. He didn't answer the calls. The chairman never returned my call. He said he would call me back that day. He never returned my calls. And that was in reference to the situation with Alquitas being in our House of Assembly, and there being two possible drug dealers in the House of Assembly. Politician number one, which we believe is Kingsley Smith, that was in the House of Assembly speaking to drug dealers, to a drug dealer, and drug dealers with an S, and making some deal or having some conversation about some deal, apparently. I don't know what kind of deal, but definitely a part of that deal was Old Bahama Bay and the situation there. I believe that the drug dealers want to use that because it has a long, very long landing strip and an airport that is there, and they could use that with little attention to them to do whatever they want to do from that airstrip, and also from the boats they could do whatever they want to do. So I believe that was a part of the play. The conversation was the Ginn property in Old Bahama Bay, and they're definitely trying to get rid of me and my people who are there because they don't want us meddling in their business. We getting in the way, y'all. And so we believe that something is going on there. And there's another member of parliament who is the senior member of parliament that was mentioned in the previous indictment that is yet to be revealed. All right. But politician number one, now number one no mean rank. Some people think, oh, politician number one got to be this one or that one because it has to be. No, the high ranking politician that was mentioned in the first indictment is different than politician number one. Politician number one is just the name of the person mentioned in this case. So I just want to get all this kind of stuff out of the way before we get started. All right. And so that's the situation. Now, I'm going to bring this back closer to home and then we're going to continue that. But the F&M doesn't seem to want to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. They don't mind talking about stuff, but in terms of actually going out there and doing something, because I didn't just want to protest, I wanted them to have a judicial review. Why doesn't the F&M, because they have standing there in the House of Assembly, why don't they do a judicial review? It will cost them nothing. It will cost them nothing to do a judicial review. They have lawyers who are part of their party, so it will cost them nothing. If you believe that this building, and they're collecting rents constantly, $5.1 million a year for this building, if you believe that that was out of order, that we shouldn't be giving money to a drug dealer, if you believe all of this stuff, then file a judicial review and say the government should have done their due diligence. I'm going to read you the contract to show you how the government could have gotten out of this. File a judicial review to say that the government should not be collecting money that was probably the proceeds of crime. All right? All they need is a judicial review. I keep trying to tell Pintard to do the law, and every time I tell him that, people get offended. Oh, why are you talking about Pintard? Because he is the police in Parliament. He's the one who is supposed to go after the government and keep their foot to the fire. He has that power in law, in international law, and in our local law. He has the powers of the PAC. All right? He has the powers. And so that's where it is. And so I'm trying to figure out, why won't they do a judicial review? Why they just want to talk or ask questions, but they don't want to actually do something to stop it or do something to change it. And then I realize it'll be difficult for them to go do a judicial review because it was them who allowed this contract to go through. Yes, the PLP signed the contract the day before election in 2017, on May 9th, 2017. But the F&M is who initiated and put it forward, allowed him to get the loan, allowed the bond, et cetera, et cetera. The F&M was a part of this. He actually carried out this mission under the F&M. It was only signed by the PLP. But it's the F&M that enabled him to do these crimes. So for them to be saying that due diligence should have been done and all this kind of stuff that they are commanding of Halkidas, which is actually true and right, the problem we're having here is that your government is who put everything in place and who initiated this and who actually gave him the opportunity to make the money. Because your government could have stopped it. Now I heard Marlon Johnson. Marlon Johnson was on social media. He seems to live there now. Marlon Johnson was the financial secretary under the F&M, who was responsible for a lot of the bad things that happened to us in that term. Now, Marlon Johnson said they didn't have an exit clause. They didn't have any way of getting out of it, so that's why the F&M had to go forward with it. Anything Marlon Johnson said is going to be to defend the F&M, and if it's defending the F&M, it's not going to be true. These guys are willing to lie to get back in office or lie to get their way. There were numerous exit clauses in that would have allowed the F&M to not go forward with this nonsense. I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to show you that Marlon Johnson is lying, and I'm going to show you how both the F&M and PLP continue to do. So the F&M is trying to play like they're the guys with the white hat, and the PLP is always the guys with the black hat. The two of them are working together while taking personas and deceiving you. Did you think it was odd when Togi and Bobo had a relationship with the PLP, but also had a relationship with the F&M? They would go and bring fish to Minnis house. How much of y'all been to Minnis house? How many F&Ms ever been to Minnis house, been in this house? But Togi and Bobo could come in his house. They could get him whenever they want. They could bring him some fish, and he will eat from them. You know, PLP coming to my house and bringing me no food and I eating that. Minnis, eat from them. Make stew fish from Togi and Bobo. But Togi and Bobo is hard PLP gangsters. I want y'all to see what's happening in this country so y'all wake up. All those people who were saying, oh, you should have just go to the F&M, you should have leave Pintard alone, let him take over, and then what? Back to square one? And so I'm sorry to have to be real and tell you what's really going on. Because some people want to live in that false perception they made that you get change when you vote for one party or the next. Is you're not getting change. The F&M continues what the other one does. The other one continues what the F&M does. Vice versa. This is just the reality, Bahamas. I'm so sorry to wake you up and snap you out of this cult mentality that they have. The PLP and F&M are cults, and they are cults. There's one cult working together, making you think that you getting something different by going to another one. But the F&M, the PLP signed it. The F&M could have come like they did with many things, stop, cancel, and review. Say, hold on, who's this? Eric Gardiner? No. We ain't going forward with that. Because the PLP left 7 contracts signed in that same period. And the only one they let go through, the F&M, was Eric Gardiner. While they sitting down playing innocent on y'all. But let's get this started. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to play this video for again of you for the groundbreaking, and we're going to start there. Because there's something peculiar about this groundbreaking. All right? There's something peculiar about this groundbreaking. Remember, I can see who's smart enough to catch this on while they're watching. Remember, they signed the agreement on May 9th, 2017. I'm going to show you the groundbreaking, and I want you to tell me, class is in session, y'all. Class is in session. I want you to tell me what is so peculiar about this groundbreaking. All right? So the PLP signed this contract on May 9th, 2017. I'll show you the groundbreaking and what's so peculiar. And the election was the next day. That's what I should. They signed on May 9th. Election was the next day, and the F&M won. What's so peculiar about this groundbreaking? Let me see how much smart Bahamians we have. Let's do this.
In the history of the Bahamas, West Grand Bahama and Bimini is getting more attention now than ever before. We're getting things that we wanted. We're getting things that make a difference. And we're changing how this part of Grand Bahama is seen, because I will fight until such time as we transform these areas, that we put our new schools up, that we cause more economic activity, and we cause more governance to be in these areas. And that is what this facility would be, a place for greater governance and greater service.
This new administrative complex will create new employment opportunities and much needed economic activity for the residents of West Grand Bahama. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last 4.5 years, my ministry, in conjunction with the Ministry of Works and Urban Development, have developed a progressive infrastructure agenda on the island of Grand Bahama. The ongoing construction of the fire station, the 6-point seawall, the junior high school in West Grand Bahama, as well as the renovation of all healthcare facilities on Grand Bahama, the farmers market, the post office in Freeport, and yes, the Fishing Road are testament of the fact that this administration is committed to economic development and social advancement and improvement in the quality of life for all Grand Bahamians.
Well, each time I return to Grand Bahama, I just see the growing evidence that testifies the resilience of the Grand Bahamian people.
Someone once said, if you wanted to go somewhere fast, you go alone. And if you wanted to go far, then you go together. And I believe that what you see here today is a combination of us doing it together.
No matter what they say about us, this is the party. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No
that the people of the Bahamas, watching all of this, watching what's happening in politics, the meltdown of opposition parties, the instability that is being institutionalized, the hatred politically that is being manifested, should watch the Progressive Liberal Party to once again conclude that you don't roll the dice with governance, but you make conscious, considered decisions on how best to protect future generations of Bahamians.
I smell BS. Lots and lots of BS. Not one thing they promised, by the way, was delivered to the Bahamian people. Not one thing. No, not one. But I want to hear from not even that building. But what's so peculiar about that groundbreaking? Anyone got it? All right. Someone says PLP cut whatever got you can't rest. Lincoln may no. The state of our country got me can't rest. Our country is suffering, man. People cheating in an election is not a cut hip. If I'm running 4x1 relay and someone cutting across the grass and the referee's allowing them to cut across the grass, I ain't no cut hip. They ain't really win. So, but in any event, what's so peculiar about that? I want to see how sharp my people are. All right. We're broadcasting all over. We're on Twitter. We're on many Facebook pages. We're on many YouTube pages. We're on LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. So we're broadcasting everywhere. So whatever number you see up there, it's way more numbers than that actually watching, because they're watching on all the different programs. All right. So what do you see? What's peculiar about this? Let me see if my people are sharp. So I can see your comments from whatever platform you're watching from. Let me see if my people's sharp. All right. What's so peculiar about that groundbreaking they had? Now they signed the contract on May 9th, 2017. I'm about to show you the contract. And then they lost the election the next day. What's so peculiar about that? Someone tell me. Someone tell me. Someone say shoveling dirt on the road, drug cartel in House of Assembly. Come on, more. Tell me some more. Let me see what's going on. Don't answer them the average generals. I just happened to be looking at the screen because I was looking at your comments. It looked all completed and ready. No, not at all. They just put dirt in the so you shovel in the dirt. That was it. NP ground. Sorry, no ground was broken. No show for the. Okay, let me just tell you all right? They signed the agreement on May 9th, but the election was on May 10th. When did they have a time to do groundbreaking? If they signed on May 9th. They didn't do groundbreaking on May 9th. They signed the contract on May 9th. So here's where it gets a little bit freaky. All right. And that's because that groundbreaking that you just saw, it did not take place after that ground took place on December 22nd. That's all the usual suspects. And as you can see, as it says here, Prime Minister Perry Christie presided over the groundbreaking for the brand new administration complex in 8 Mile Rock in Grand Mama on Thursday, the 22nd of December, with his ministers, Obi Wilchcombe, but I'll show you, The first one you see on the right, right next to where I am. The first one on the right, that's Shane Gibson. Next to him, bending down with the hard hat on, that's Obi Wilchcombe. Um, that's a youngster next to him, related to someone. We'll get to that later. Then that's Perry Christie in the middle. Then that's an interesting fella that we're going to talk about today. We believe that that is Mr. Heald. Mr. Heald is the name that you see keep appearing on these documents for Eric Gardiner, saying that he is the actual shareholder. But we're going to have to show you Mr. Heald, because if Mr. Heald is actually a shareholder, then we should see some things. We don't see that as it relates to him, but I'll get back to that later. Skip over the young lady. Um, next to Heald, who is holding shares for the drug dealer, is Philip Brave Davis. And next to Philip Brave Davis is Glenna Santa Martin. And next is Mr. Davil. So this is the gang. The gang's all there, and they are putting shovel in the ground. And that building, remember when we ran, I think that was 2023, was it? I think, yeah, when we ran for West Grand Bahama, or was that 2024? Whenever it was, that building was still not open. All right, but we're gonna get to the contract, and you're gonna see why that's so interesting. All right, um, and so they swing you, and so they put that shovel in the ground, but they put the shovel in the ground months before, half a year before they signed the contract. Wow. So they had a whole groundbreaking for a building that there was no contract for yet, for another half a year almost. Ladies and gentlemen, I just thought you would be interested to see that. Uh, when we saw that, we were blown away at the amount of BSing that goes on. And guess what? Once the contract starts, the money starts flowing. But someone says that was 2023, Lincoln. Thank you so much. I've been doing so much over the last couple of years. It's a blur. Um, yeah, and so all those years later, and the building still wasn't up, and it was only because we went there and exposed them that, of course, they finally rushed and tried to open the building because we embarrassed them by going live and telling people what was going on with the building. And the fact we did tell them that the drug dealer is the one who owned the building, the government paying rent to the drug dealer from 2023. Um, so that's the first interesting thing to note, that that's them at the groundbreaking. That was very interesting to see. Now we're gonna go through this document piece by piece, and then we're gonna pull some things out that's interesting, so that you can see exactly what's going on. Now, as we go with these exposés, some people's name is going to be called because the criminals, the mafia, the drug dealers, etc., always grab respected people to work along with them and to be a part of what they doing to legitimize them, and that continues to happen. And so, respected people name get called because they get caught up, and that's where the problem comes in. So, I have the infamous contract. And I can tell you, so does U.S. officials. And that contract connects our government, in my view, to money laundering and drug dealing. All right. And so that's where a lot of the problem is. So let's go straight to this contract. Let me pull this up for you. Class is in session. Get your tea and coffee, get your notebooks out, and let's get to work. This one can be serious. All right. Um, we got quite a bit to go through here. So we get to the top of the contract. All right. All right, so good. So, ladies and gentlemen, the contract you're going to see is a contract that it didn't start because it was happening before that. This is a contract that gives evidence now of our government now being in the drug business. All right. And so it's sad, but true. Um, all right. Here's the contract. As you can see, it says PPP Investments and Construction Company Limited, Public Private Partnership Agreement. So this is the agreement. All right. General contract. And it was prepared by Karam Mizik. Um, that's the law firm with the bow lady who's a part of this. This goes so deep. I don't know how deep I could go today. Um, but before we go to this contract, I want to show you another document, and we'll come back to this. I want to show you something. While Eric Gardiner was in jail, Top Notch, the company, Top Notch was, they were not even paying the yearly fee for that. The company went defunct when Eric Gardner was in jail. And then all of a sudden, when he came out of jail, almost immediately, they reenacted the company and started paying the yearly fees. When you have an incorporated company, you pay these yearly fees as it relates to these companies. So I wanted you to see that um, because that's very interesting. Because there are persons who are saying, and that's their biggest defense, is that uh, Eric Gardner is not the owner, and they keep calling this other person's name and saying that there's other person and other people have shares in that. But their defense is Eric Gardner is not the owner of that. Well, it's just so curious that if Eric Garner is not the owner, why did the company, let me see if I could pull this up for you. Why did the company go basically defunct while he was in jail and then all of a sudden come back to life as soon as he got out of jail? That's the question you would have to ask yourself about this. Okay, document. Just give me one sec. I just want you to see this. I'm sorry, I thought that I want you to see this. But Eric, so if that other person owns it, why didn't the business continue while Eric Gardner was in jail and that person, other person who owns it, was continuing to do what he had to do? All right. It is clear. The computer is just running a little slow right now. I don't know exactly why. And so that's why it's taking me a minute. Um, so it is clear that uh, you can look at it and say that Eric Gardner ran that company because why wasn't the company continued when he went away? And that's the issue that these persons would have trying to say that Eric Gardner is not the owner. That's one very interesting note. Um, all right, pulling it up for you right now. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's up. Just going to share this with you. And so I want to show you this. We have the documentation. All right. And again, so does the foreign authority. So Bahamians can sit down and make excuses to each other, but I want Bahamians to pay attention to the fact that the US government don't care what you think. The foreign authorities don't care what you think. They're the ones making the arrests when they can see, and you can see that arrests are not being made. These arrests are being made by foreigners. How is it that they can do the investigation and lock these people up and we can't? How is that possible? How is that? Um, but just trying to work through it. Whenever we have these kind of big exposés, we start to get hit in certain ways. All right, so here we go. All right, so let me make this big on the screen for you. All right, just doing this. Okay, so the document over here next to me, that's a document I was trying to show it big for you. All kind of thing. Everything changed in front of me on the computer. I'm so sorry about that. Performance. Okay, so all right, we'll just go with the way it is. Okay. So the document, I know you can't see it very well, but that's the document. And as um, you can see the dates when the yearly fee was paid to the government. And it's clear on this document that they stopped paying at a certain point because it's clear because here you see uh, up to a certain point it was paid, and then all of a sudden a bunch of payments happened. So as you can see, 2010, November 25th, they paid for several years back to back, which means that they were not paying. And so they just came all of a sudden and paid for a bunch of years back to back. So they didn't pay. They paid up to 2006, as you can see here, and then they stopped paying. And then this document shows that they came in and paid for the previous years, but they for 2007, 2008, 2009, and 2010 one time. All right. Um, and so you can see how they had stopped making payments, and they came back in 2014 and did similar. They paid for 2011, 12, 13, 14, uh, all on the same day. All right. So you can see all of those were paid on the same day. And then as soon as he got out is when they started getting current. And so obviously, that's a major red flag or something you should at least be paying attention to, right? So let's go back to the document. There's a reason I showed you that because these people who they are saying own it is clearly doing, in my opinion, what the mafia bosses do. They just put someone the front for them, and the persons don't really own it. And you're going to see why I'm saying that as we start to say certain things about Mr. Heald, whose name keeps popping up and appearing on this. And again, we can make as much excuses we want, but America isn't interested in our excuses because that's our political party, you know. And guess what? We are going to suffer for this. Them drug dealers and politicians, they rich. It's us who will suffer. So you sitting there making excuses for your political party when now police officers and defense force officers are being denied visas like crazy nowadays? Y'all didn't know that, eh? It's happening already. Police officers, defense force officers never had to worry about being denied visas. It started to happen. I know of Bahamians who were going on a cruise and they got a one entry visa. They applied for a visa because they was going on a cruise. They got a one entry visa. They was expecting to get a 10-year visa. Things is changing right in front of your eyes because y'all sitting down worrying about party and not country. But you gonna suffer, not the politician. They can be straight. They fighting for their diplomatic immunity. Now, let's go back to this contract and y'all uh, prepare to sit down in class and let's go through this so y'all could see what the drug dealers getting while y'all ain't getting nothing. You wonder why uh, West End is undeveloped? I can show you all why. It's in the contract. Y'all wondering why they ain't doing nothing for y'all? It's in the contract. Sit back and wait and see. So let's go to the contract. So here we go. So this is the contract. Pull it back up so you can see that this is a contract. This is the public-private agreement. We always get our hands on these. We are investigators, real investigators. All right. So here's the contract and all of this little table of contents. Let's go through it. It's very interesting. I know I'm going slow through this, but listen, this is not for those people who just want to see a little quick 30-second thing and go to their bed. No, we can't educate the public like that. A little 3-minute thing and then you go to your bed. Or you switch to the next video. That ain't what this is. We got to really know what's going on in this country and you got to take responsibility. And this is why the country is failing because you want a little 3-minute clip that cannot explain what's going on. If you need a 3-minute clip, that's why your rent is $1,200 to $1,500. That's why you can't afford groceries in this country. That's why the politicians keep taking advantage of you and they're getting all the money in contract and you get nothing because you don't want to know what's going on. You want a 3-minute clip. You know, 3-minute clip for this. All right. And so this is the contract and we're going to go through this here. And they wrote this. This is so unprofessional. This agreement is made the ninth, and they wrote in the 9th day of May, AD 2017. Now, this is something that should not happen. It's a red flag. The day before election, you shouldn't be signing no contract. It's called a lame duck period. All right. The government, the provost marshal is in charge. The government should not be signing any deals that should affect the next government at that point. That is totally out of order. Now, the FNM does it too, because Ingram did it as related to our Aragonite deal. But this shouldn't be happening. This is the day before election, all right? And they lost. Minister took over. All right, this between the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, as represented by Mr. Simon Wilson, Financial Secretary, acting by and under authority of the Ministry of Finance for the said government, hereinafter referred to as the government, and PPP investments and construction. Oh Lord, I have the screen small. Let me see if I can go ahead and fix that for y'all. I couldn't see that, so sorry. Let's see if I can get back here and put this on a bigger screen for y'all. And make myself small. All right, everything is moving too slow. All right, at least that's a little bigger. I want it on the full big screen, but I don't know what is going on with that. All right. All right, so I'll go back. That's the best I can do right now. But I guess y'all can see it good enough, or just blow it up on your screen. You know what? Let me come out of it and try it again. and see if I could set it up. Okay. See, here we go. All right, it should display properly. I want it big and me in the small screen while I'm going through this and showing you what's really been going on. Okay, there we go. Now that should work. Hope that works. All right, so this between them. So as you can see, this is the contract. They call it general contractor. I'm going to speed through this and scroll so you can see what you need to see. But I'm going to scroll to certain parts of this document. So this document is very well put together. So don't mind Marlon Johnson telling you they did not have an exit clause and they didn't cover certain things. And so the FNM had to do it like the FNM hand was tied. Their hands was not tied. All right. The agreement between the party dated 9th of May. Again, they wrote that in. Which means you didn't even know when you're going to do this. Government plans better than that. So the government shouldn't be having contracts where they have to write it in by hand. That's crazy. This is all right. Contract documents, contract period. Okay, we're going to go to this. So hang with me. Now, the first thing is lease payments. I highlighted this. Lease payments means the sum to be paid by the government to the general contractor in respect of the construction and its use of the facilities in accordance with Part 3 of Schedule 9. Now, you see what that says? The lease payment means the sum to be paid by the government to the general contractor in respect of what? Construction. If it's a PPP, why he getting lease for or during construction? Why? Why did he get an initial bonus, which I'm going to show you in a minute? So the lease payments, you see, for construction, that means, is this really a PPP? We might as well construct it ourselves. And its use of the facility is in accordance with whatever, all right? And so advance interest payments, we're gonna get to that and show you what that means. And that's almost the same definition. Financial models, I'm going to skip to this force majeure. If something happened they couldn't control. And so I'm going to keep moving through this. You're going to see the yellow highlights pop up where I made the notes I want you all to see. The advance interest payments required by clause 22 has been provided. So this is telling you that the advance interest payment, that's what they're calling it. But all that is a free money. That's a upfront bonus. And that part will shock you all, the bonuses. The advance interest payment has already been paid, is what they're saying. So he didn't get paid that from, we don't even know when. But that was $4.7 million. I'll show you it. All right. The site, this defines what the site is. So it is well put together. Precedent documents, all of this stuff is here. I'm going to keep scrolling. Design development. There we go. I'm going to keep just scrolling. There's a lot here. Listen, they talk about everything, the construction obligations, the skill and care you must use. This covered everything. It was a pretty good contract. But the problem is with contracts is the enforcement is the problem. Because if your boy doing the contract, you ain't enforce none of these nice stuff that you said had to happen. In short, it's subcontractors, so they covered everything. The general contractor shall. The gas structure and it's improved. So in other words, they can't use none of these. So they thought of everything. Can't use no asbestos, lead, mercury, all these chemicals that you see there. So they put all this stuff in there. Programming of the works. You have to say how this work is supposed to be done, laid out, variations, what can happen, how the government can make changes. What happens if the government makes any changes and say, look, we want 2 bathrooms instead of 3, or 3 bathrooms instead of 2. And all this stuff was discussed. Extension of time. It shares what happens if the general contractor, he can extend time, but then is punishment for him on that. So there's a punishment. All right. So general contractor shall not be entitled to rely on that. So everything is here. If he needed to extend time, it's supposed to be a punishment, or the government because it just ended the contract. When it goes through here, it talks about delay. All right. Any delay, what will happen is a punishment there. Completion, when it's considered complete and what happens on completion, the Ministry of Work kicks in, does their inspection within 14 days. All this is there, but I'm trying to speed through this for you. So all that is there. Now, damages for delay. So what is so interesting about this is that this building took years. Years. So it was signed in 2017. And at 2023, this building still wasn't finished. All right. Still wasn't opened. So this building took years. And they were supposed to be completed. I should have shown you that in the beginning. The time frame they're supposed to be completed with this is 24 months, 2 years. That's the contract. 24 months, 2 years was the contract. Now, they were delayed. So the first thing is, if they didn't have any other termination clause in this, the government, after them got in, even if they had to sign it, even if they forced and put gun there and they forced them to sign it, that building didn't finish under the F&M. And at some point, a month later, a year later, 2 years later, the government could have said, well, you all aren't complete. We have to kick you all to the curb. But in any event, here it is. If the general contractor fails to achieve practical completion by the completion date, the government shall be entitled to require the general contractor to pay the government liquidated damages for delay at the rate set out in Part 3. All right? It's a heavy rate it's supposed to pay in respect of each day. So every day that Eric Gardiner didn't finish this building, he was supposed to pay a penalty, all right, per day for being late, thousands of dollars, right? He was years late. Years. So he was supposed to pay a penalty, thousands of dollars for every day he was late. But this was thousands of days late. Thousands of days late, probably. All right. So did you ever hear them saying that they charging Eric Gardiner for being late? No. They paying rent to them. I showed you the documentation. They're paying rent to them right now when they shouldn't have been doing that because they finished late. All right. And so I just wanted you all to see that. Now, watch this. If the general contractor completes the work in accordance with this agreement on a date before the completion date stated in Part 4, then the government shall pay the general contractor a bonus. As a bonus, a sum calculated at a rate stated in Part 5's whatever schedule. All right? A bonus for each day. So if he had finished early, we would have had to pay him a bonus for every day he was early, thousands of dollars. But he wasn't. He was late. And we ain't collect our money. Why? Because the FDM and PLP was dealing with this. And all of them just leave it alone. All right? And so just wanted you to see that. So if he'd finished early, he would have got a bonus. Defects and liabilities. So if any defects, there was punishment for that. I wanted you to see that. Maintenance of building. So this was another set of money that they were able to collect because not only did they build the building, they was paid for maintenance of the building. So once everything started, they was paying for the building of it and the maintenance of it. And so they was able to get double money. Now they put the maintenance part in top-notch builders. The maintenance of the building. They send that money to top-notch builders. All right. So that's different from the CAM. That's a different maintenance thing there. But I'll just keep going through this for the sake of time because we got some stuff to talk about. And you got to see this document that Jobeth Coleby name is in and who that is connected to. All right. And how that is connected to Eric Player Gardiner. So just stay tuned after we get through this document. General performance obligation. So you got to work to a certain standard. I'm going to breeze through. I had made notes just before the live So that's why I have these highlights. Advance interest payment. So this is what I wanted to get to. So advance interest payment. It is acknowledged and accepted by the parties to this agreement that as at the date of this agreement, the government has paid to the general contractor the sum of $4,400,000 representing advance interest payment on the estimated project cost of 22,810,000. So they paid him an advance bonus and call it advance interest. You don't pay interest on rent. If we leasing, why we paying rent? Sorry, why we paying interest on the rent? That's a word they just made up to just find some reason to give him money, and they didn't want to call it a bonus, a sign-in bonus like some athletes will get. They didn't want to call it that, so they call it something that sounds fancy that you wouldn't question: advance interest payments. Garbage. The government gave him $4.4 million just to get started. We might as well bill this ourselves. He got another loan of $10 million. And he got a bond of $25 million. I explained that bond to you. That's big money right there. So lease payments, handover fee. Oh, and once he finished and hands it over to government, he could have gotten a bonus finishing early. But also, upon practical completion and the issuance of certificate of occupancy, the government shall pay to the general contractor a handover fee of $535,000. So he got another $535,000 just for handing over the building. That's what he got. So they found every way to put bonuses there. So I don't know if this was for the party, and they just put that in there. You know, we give you this once we sign over, turn it over. You turn it over to us. We give you another. So you don't get a bonus, a sign-in bonus. Now you get another bonus just for handing it over to us. Jesus. You see how much they put us in the contract, you know. All right. And so let me keep going. And so you see how much money he's getting already up front and with the bond. The bond was $25 million. And so the government could have a representative, the contractor have a representative to deal with this. Force majeure means termination if something happens out of your control, all right, including government changing laws or doing something. So this was the first out. So you could have an out for force majeure. So Marlon Johnson was lying about there not being an out. There could have been an out for force majeure, all right. Let's keep going. That's force majeure. Termination at the end of the contract period. All right. So this is another termination situation. So Marlon Johnson, the former financial secretary, lied if and when he said that there was no exit clause. At the end of the contract period, the general contractor shall transfer, convey, development, etc. over. All right. And so this is when the contract actually ends after the period for it to go. All right. Let's go. Because I want to show you all some more. Another termination, early termination. This is what I really was meaning to touch on just now. Early termination. The government may terminate this agreement at any time on 6 months' notice. See that? Marlon Johnson said there was no exit clause. The government may terminate this agreement at any time on 6 months' notice. Marlon Johnson. You had to deal with this. You saw this contract. You dealt with this. You allowed him to go forward. Why are you lying to the Bahamian people? Why? To make it seem like the F&M had no choice. They had to continue. No, you could have. Even though you would have had to pay something, you still had the choice. Next, the government may terminate this agreement with immediate effect on written notice to the general contractor in the event the general contractor has issues with his company, goes bankrupt, has creditors, goes to winding up, or the last one, committing any fraud or any other unlawful or criminal act in respect of its execution of the works or performance of the service. Let me make this clear to you, Marlon Johnson. I'll pull this up on the screen. This says any other unlawful criminal act. If a man comes straight out of jail, starts to restructure his company so that he could hide behind certain things, and is all of a sudden finding money to build government buildings, where did that money come from? The man was charged with money laundering in the States, not here. He could have been charged with money laundering here also, once he got out of jail, with evidence that the States received. He could have been charged with drug trafficking here also. But they never charged him with that. So the fact that he came out of jail and he have all his money, where the money come from? Because if you go in Bahamian Joe Blow's house and you find $10,000, $15,000, they might have been saving that. You could say that's proceeds of crime. And you could take their money. So the man show up to the government and say, hey, I won't build a building. I just came out of jail for money laundering and drug dealing, but hey, I won't build a building. The F&M government, seeing this, could have ended that contract because he would have had to prove where that money came from. Do you understand what I'm saying? So don't let the F&M play y'all. All right? Yeah, I smell something. It smells like Rico. I can smell Rico's cologne. Rico coming. All right? Let me share the document with y'all again. So there was all kind of ways for the F&M, if they wanted to end this evil, diabolical deal. They chose not to. They didn't go into the other deals that the PLP signed at the same time, but they went into this one. The criminals always got to hook up with the PLP and the F&M. Think about that. The PLP always got to hook up. Sorry, the criminals. And you heard the port say, we pay both sides. We pay the PLP and the F&M. The Moscows will tell you, we pay the PLP and the F&M. It's just financial contribution, nothing illegal. But how is it that the criminals, Togi and Bobo and them, they always cool with both sides? Remember Togi and Bobo was mixed up with Menace and it was mixed up with Pintad. That's how Pintad got in trouble. That was his people. All right? Termination shall be without prejudice, etc., etc. So they F&M could have terminated this if they wanted to. They could have come in and say, hey, the PLP signed a contract with a known notorious drug dealer, and we are not willing to go forward with that contract. And we will sanction, have the central bank sanction any bank that continues to do business in this. We cannot have government money going to a drug dealer. The F&M could have done that. But no. Now you see his testimony in court that the F&M also gave a contract to Eric Gardiner, another one, for water and sewage with Adrian Gibson. Of course, it was a subcontractor, but nonetheless. All right. So they're talking about what happens with, remember, the 6 months notice. So if the government does it with 6 months notice, you have to pay the contractor some equal to the amount owed to the financer. All right. So that's a part of it. Okay. Under the other section, they'd only have to pay the contractor for what he's already done. All right. So there was an exit clause. So on any proper termination of this agreement under clause 31.2 and or 3, such termination occurs prior to the date of the practical completion, a sum equal to the general contractor's reasonable expenditure. All right, that so whatever he has put into it so far, and I'm gonna speed up and go through this for the sake of time. Um, the execution and delivery of performance by it, and so this another clause. It warranties by the contractor. So the contractor warranted that this participating in this would not cause any breach of any law, regulation, etc. So if it's money laundering, then he would have been in trouble. And so the F&M could have used this contract alone to say that they warranted that going into this contract would not violate any law. Money laundering, proceeds of crime, that would be a violation. And so they could have used that to get out of this. All right. But they're not serious. Um, and also they didn't withheld from the government any information. So one of your shareholders or your president, etc., being a drug dealer, that's some important information. Now here's another important part: confidentiality. You see, confidentiality. Look at this. They wanted to keep this secret. That's why they didn't talk about it. Confidentiality. Each party is to treat as confidential, etc., etc. So they signed to keep their mouth shut about this contract, this criminal deal, this money laundering deal. This is why they can't have a Freedom of Information Act, because they got so much contracts that they supposed to keep secret from the public. You could sign to keep secret from the public this kind of information. How could you sign for that? The public should know that they are signing a deal with a drug dealer. All right? But see, as a confidentiality clause, I won't read through the whole thing. So I want to get onto some other things. Here, restriction on competition. This is what I really wanted y'all to see. This one's serious, y'all. I want you to read that carefully. I want y'all to read that carefully. I don't know if you know what you're reading, but this one's serious. It says during the contract period, meaning from wherever they sign to the end of when the government should be paying lease, neither party shall carry on any business or any other activity within 10 miles of the site which competes directly or indirectly with the project. So the government can't do any building 10 miles from this while they paying lease to the drug dealer. Y'all see that? The government can't do any building within 10 miles of the Obi Wilson building. So they can't do no further building, no further development, etc. during the period while they're paying a lease for 10 years or how much ever years it end up being to the drug dealer. You see this with your own eyes. And then you start to figure out, why wouldn't the government build nothing else? They just build that and stop. Why this place ain't developing? Why we ain't throwing up buildings all over the place? Let me put this in perspective for you for a second. Let me put this in perspective for you. This serious. Because see, what you all ignoring and making excuses for, I telling you. Them federal investigators, they ain't hearing your story, but how much you love the PLP, you know. They ain't on your run. They ain't hearing your excuse for Halkidas and all these other people. They looking at the reality. They looking at what I'm showing you, not the slant based on politics. This document is coming up now. This is showing you the radio. So that means in all West and Central, you can't make any other government building 10 miles in a circle. You can't go in the ocean and make it. You see that? No other government building allowed. They put that in writing. I want y'all to pay attention to what happened in your country, you know. They actually did a clause to stop the development. Fancy talk, but what they are planning to do, they could do this, and they could do that, and then you saw nothing done. Because they never thought you would see this document, because this document is a secret, a deep, dark secret. And so that's all of West Grand Bahama. That's all, well, that's a lot of Central Grand Bahama. I don't know it that good, but you can see how far that goes. So some of y'all could tell me how far that goes, because uh, that's a long way. All right, I'm trying to pull up Google Earth for you so you could see. It's going very slow. Just give it a sec. Trying to pull up Google Earth, but that's the radius that we did. All right. Let's pull this up. Okay, hold on one sec. Because I think for those of you from Grand Bahama, you know what's included in that radius and why there's not been any development. These are kind of things. Error. Okay, I have an error with that. Let me pull up Google Maps and see if it does differently. Okay, that's coming up. Let me go to Grand Bahama. Because it's showing where I am. Let me move it so go over Grand Bahama. All right. All right. Let's see how this goes. Hold on. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this thing goes all the way into Freeport. So no government buildings could be built. Yep, that goes into Freeport. That's crazy. That it looks like it covers. Yep, it looks like it covers where the actual port is and the dredging and all that stuff. It goes all the way past that, and it goes into Freeport. This is serious. So no development could be done. I just wanted you to see that. I was trying to pull it up to make sure I got a bearing on that. But they sign these kinds of secret, diabolical deals against you while you shaking pom pom, and you're trying to say, man, why they in developing nothing? Why West Grandmama look like that? Why East Grandmama look like that? Because they're signing deals against you to make money. And that was a deal with a drug dealer. I just thought you should know. Now, if you don't want to know, that's up to you. But guess what? Now you know. Let's go back to this document for a second, and we come to this document that Jobeth Coleby. So someone tag Jobeth Coleby. Tag my friend Jobeth Coleby. Make sure she's on here, and she has a front row seat. All right. See a lot of y'all on YouTube today. sitting watching this on TV. Awesome. YouTube. Yeah, man. YouTube beating Facebook today. Congratulations, YouTube crew. Y'all beating Facebook today, man. All right. So let's go back to this contract. All right. Uh, all right. So you saw the restriction clause. And so within 10 miles, the government couldn't do nothing else. I think that's diabolical and evil. They even have a corruption gift payment clause in there. And so if they haven't to find any kind of corruption, but you know it was there, maybe an envelope with an MP name on it or something, they could cancel this whole thing out. So we would have dealt with them. If them or any of their agents or anyone who worked for them did any corruption and that or any payoffs. Again, that's another secrecy clause. Now here, termination on insolvency. So that's another termination agreement. So that's another way that them could have not done this. So I just showing you this because I don't want these politicians or their cronies like Marlon Johnson them to trick y'all. All right. And there's another termination clause. See how much termination clause we see in? The government may at any time, by notice in writing, summarily terminate this agreement if the general contractor, and then it gives all these reasons why they could terminate the clause. All right. Consequential agreements on termination. So if the government have to terminate, they have to hire somebody else, then the contractor got to deal with that. It's going to keep going through. I want you to see something else. So it's signed with top notch. So in case of the general contractor, so you sign an agreement with PPP in Construction Limited, right? Whatever the exact name is, with PPP Construction Limited. But the address is Top Notch Builders, Adelaide Road. So in the bush somewhere, not number 3 or number 13 Adelaide Road, just Adelaide Road, but use our PO box. So here it is. That's what it's saying. All right, and he has Mr. Sampson Heald. So clearly, Jonathan Eric Gardiner, player, was the president and everything, shareholder, etc. But when he realized that now he's going to go into government contracts, he had to put some other people out front. And that's where we're going next. All right? So, who is Sampson Heald? Ask yourself that. Just, who is Sampson Heald? Last thing, this was signed by Simon Wilson. Why is the financial secretary signing something like this? Why isn't it signed by a minister? This is over $250,000. Why was this a no bid contract, which shows it's skullduggery again? And on that alone, half of them could have said that was no bid, we're not entertaining it. This was not tabled in the House of Assembly. This is a multi-million-dollar deal. A multi-million-dollar deal. Why was this not tabled in the House of Assembly? None of that was done. And why is Simon Wilson signing this? Where's the cabinet opinion on this? A cabinet minister should have signed this. I'm not saying a financial secretary or debt director can't sign anything, but remember this came up when the LOI was signed by Renwood Wells. Why is Simon Wilson signing something like this? Where they are going, this is a $56 million deal. I was going to break down the numbers to you of all the money he would be making. But this is a $56 million deal. All right? $56 million deal. And this is signed by uh, what's the name? Simon Wilson. Hmm. No, Simon Wilson is, I think he's good friends with the attorney in this for the other side, I think. And that don't mean nothing, but just thought that's information that should be out there. Um, Good friends, I think. I'll confirm that for you. All right. But we got to fix our country. It's serious. Now, let's make sure, Jobeth Coleby, if you're on here, just give me a little hey or hello or present. It's a roll call. Uh, Jobeth, if you here, just give me a little hello, present, because I will know something. All right. You ain't getting expelled. You ain't in trouble yet, but we just got some questions. I want to document your name on. Now, Samson Healed. Samson Healed is an interesting character. He keeps coming up. His name keeps coming up with this thing as a frontman for an alleged frontman for Eric Player Gardiner, Jonathan Eric Player Gardiner. I have to keep saying Jonathan because that's his actual first name, and he signs with that even though everyone knows him as Eric, so that people won't recognize what's going on using different names. So, Samson, in doing investigations on Samson, because there's a lot of people doing investigations, including foreign people, doing investigations on Samson now, and on all the people involved with this. So I would advise you, if you're connected to this, to head for the hills. But the most interesting thing we noticed was Samson. We couldn't find where Samson owned anything, no house, no nothing. So you're a contractor, but we can't see where you own a house, not even in a company name, no nothing. And we're the best investigators. So I want Samson. I want you to show us up that we fail on this investigation, because we can't find where you own nothing. You have these big deals that you say you're the owner of. This $56 million deal here. The other deal with Complete Construction for the other thing that the housing minister was involved in, the housing contract of Renaissance. You have all these big government contracts, etc. We can't find not even a doghouse that you own. We can't find nothing in your name, nothing. And you're not a drug dealer as far as I know, so not directly. So we don't see any reason for you to hide it. And if it was there, we would have found it. So this man who's claiming to be the owner of this multi-billion-dollar production company is clearly just a front. We heard he's living in Carmichael Road right now in an apartment, two-bedroom apartment or something like that. Trying to figure out what he could do, tell this fella get out of jail. And so we need him because he have a government contract. He's a public figure. His name is out there to explain all of this. Now, what was interesting is another document that we found. All right, that was just, this document is interesting, and this is what we want Ms. Coleby Davis to tell us about. I'm pull this document up for y'all right now. All right. Just a document between Samson Hill and Jobeth Coleby Davis. Right. Lord, this is interesting. All right. Let me pull it up for you. So, Jobeth, come. There we go. Jobeth, what's this? What is so interesting is that Samson Heald is supposed to be this contractor with all these different big companies, with all these big different government contracts, and he owned top notch, and he owned this, and he owned that. And he's the president. But this document is this is for a low cost home from the Ministry of Transport and Housing. All right. This is for a low cost home for $110,000. That's how much they going for? Man, I know low cost homes was selling for $110,000. And that's in 2023. This ain't back in the day. All right. And so this is a document for a low cost home. All right, a conveyance for a low cost home, a conveyance. Yeah, $110,000 on April 11, 2023. Y'all seeing this? All right. And it's in Bohemia West. All right. Y'all feel people know what that means. Bohemia West. All right. 110,000. Well, that's a good deal. You need to buy a couple of them. And so this is the cover page. Let me turn it for you. All right. Ministry of Transport and Housing, the minister responsible for housing, and that's a name in it, I'll get to it. 2, Samson Tamar E. Heald, and his wife, Letitia Kendisha Serfant Heald. Now, this isn't the contractor. This is son with the same name, I guess, Junior, or at least the same name. Now, it ain't our culture for daddy to have this big construction company, and we got to get a low cost home. That ain't our culture in the Bahamas. Your children is normally a presentation of your glory. That's that's a part of your success. Not the damn children who go astray, but this is a red flag. That if Samson Heald, we can't find where he owns anything. We also see that his son had to get a $110,000 low cost home from Jobeth Coleby Davis. All right, let me turn this around for you. And this is the affidavit, that's where you find everything. I, Kalisa S. Curtis of Yamacraw constituency in the Eastern District of the Island of New Providence of the Island of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Senior Executive Secretary, a civil servant, doth hereby make oath and say that I was present and saw the official seal of the Minister of Transport and Housing affixed to the Annex Indenture of Conveyance on the 16th of February 2022